Hey there, everyone. I'm the host of Expat podcast, Marco Couvet, and this is a short clip extracted from a longer interview that I did with Pamela Zanelle, South African who moved to Switzerland, and how she dealt with mental health during this transition to a new life.
With my superiors at work, and nothing was done. And I think that's what made me even more frustrated. And, instead of being vengeful, because it got to a point where lawyers approached me and said, you have a strong case, right? But I was like, is that going to benefit me in any way? Except for what? Maybe
Economical part,
they
probably, and
said
that's
they
it.
reach a settlement and give me money, but am I going to be okay? Like, my mental health came first at that point, and this was last year. So I started with therapy. I started with a psychiatrist and a psychologist.
Mhm.
We work well together. I'm on antidepressants, and
Okay.
it's something that took me a while to speak out about because it's frowned upon in many communities. People look at it as like you're a failure, you've given up. Like antidepressants is like the lowest you can go, and there's these myths around antidepressants and stuff like that. Like there's something wrong with you then if you have to take medication. And I talk about these things in the open because I realize that a lot of people are not even aware that they're suffering from depression. They're not even aware that they're suffering from anxiety. They don't even know what they're going through because when I had to explain to my therapist the events that took place, because I had to write everything down and I presented the things to her, she had to tell me what I was going through.
Yeah,
She had
it's
to tell me, yeah,
you are
exactly
passing
how.
something that nobody spoke ever to you, and that's one of the worst things, and that's why I find very brave but at the same time very needed people who pass through these stories also speak
Yeah,
it up a little bit. And I've been in there and I never hide it about it. Like in Spain, I think
yeah,
there is still, but especially with previous generations, the whole stigma around going to
yeah,
psychologists, to psychiatrists, about like,
yes,
if you need to go to a
yes.
psychologist, it's because you are crazy. And that's not the
Mm,
reality. That's that
mm,
everyone has
yeah,
moments, and life it's an ups and downs. And when this roller coaster
mm,
it's too high and too down, you are going into an
yeah,
emotional thingy that it's not uncontrollable, and you need to take it out. You need to speak
yes.
it to someone. A lot of
Mm,
societies has
mhm,
this sense of community where you go and you talk with your friends and whatever, but these people are, even with that, these people are not specialists. They will
true,
calm
true.
you through something that worked for them, but it's not a scientific approach to it either.
It's
Because
not.
that's very much like I felt the same, like until you went to
Mm,
a specialist who was telling you, hey, yes, okay, this cycle here, you see these are peaks of
yeah,
depression, these
yeah.
are peaks of anxiety,
Mm.
this whole
And it's
triggering.
quite exciting, right?
It's nice. I mean, it's there
When
is,
when
I
you
mean,
when someone finally tells you, yeah,
there is a part of like finally understanding what it's going on in your mind. It's hard for sure. I mean, it's like, okay,
mm,
why
mm.
is it happening to me? And this whole like
But
imposter
yeah, yeah,
syndromes that also comes with this kind of stuff, etc., etc. But at some point it's also like, oh wow, well, I've been like there for dealing with this for years, and now finally I'm understand
yes,
and starting to understand what the complex.
mhm. Yeah.
It's the most complex organ that we have.
Things, yeah,
The
yeah,
brain, it's
yeah.
nobody understands how it works 100%, but at least starting
True.
knowing how, well, putting the pieces of the puzzle
The
together, no, like
connected,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the connections.
I,
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think for me, I always look forward to because I see both a psychiatrist and
mm,
a therapist, a psychologist, because here, like for me to be medically written off, it had to be written by a psychiatrist.
okay.
And I actually I look forward to seeing them both because they're both amazing. But with the psychiatrist, how he was able to explain how things are working, how they are affecting me. it took a huge weight off my shoulders to make me feel like for the first time ever, I felt heard.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so this is a thing. And the reason why I always recommend, because there'll be people sending me inboxes saying, hey, I feel like this, what would you recommend? I say, don't be ashamed to go and see a professional, because it might be the best thing you'll ever do for yourself. Because I'm not going to, you cannot diagnose or try to understand yourself based off of my personal experience, because I had to go years back to my childhood, to my, because I was also diagnosed with PTSD, which I was not aware of. But the reason why I have certain triggers is because of the PTSD. I don't even know why certain things trigger me, but when you start explaining your childhood, like how you grew up and things that were happening to you, to a normal person, it looks normal. It's like, oh, you had a pretty normal childhood. No, no, you didn't. So you need to speak to a professional that will be able to put it into perspective for you and teach you how to address certain triggers and how to avoid them. Because I will tell you now, I thought I was going to be like that for the rest of my life, just, constantly questioning myself, like, am I even normal? Like, why am I like this? I'm a weirdo. That's how I used to, I settled for that title to say, yeah, I'm a weirdo, I'm antisocial and stuff like that. It was a trauma response.
Sure.
And now that I know, it's like, no, I will not accept that. I want to be the best version of myself.
It's one of the other things that a lot of people doesn't realize, and a lot of the stigma that it's also around that. It's that you feel excluded, or you feel like, okay, you are having something that nobody else is having, because
Yes.
people doesn't talk
Yes.
about it because of the whole stigma
Mhm.
society has around these topics. But it's not
Yes.
true. It's like the
Mhm.
majority of people around you has passed or is passing through mental health
Mhm.
issues, because we live in a
Yes.
society that it's
Yes.
triggering them also, and it's getting worse
Yes.
and worse, and everything is fast, and everything it
It's
needs to be
getting
so
worse.
whatever, and
Yeah.
it's getting like bigger and bigger, the whole thing. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I always like said to everyone that I've met, and it happens this when you talk about these topics, people start sending you messages, sending you DMs and
Mhm.
stuff, and
Mhm.
saying, hey, I passed through
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
what should I do, whatever.
Mhm.
And it's one of the biggest things for me, it was realizing that you are not alone there was people who passed through the
True.
same thing before you, there is people passing through the same thing at the same time as you, and there will be people passing through it
Yes.
after you,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
there is a light outside of this tunnel, and it passes
Yes.
through multiple different. If you liked this short video out of the full episode, you can find the link to it around here and in the description below. Of course, if you are also interested in checking out other episodes, please subscribe and like.